Sam Darnold has been absolutely dominating the Vikings offseason so far. So we'll be diving into some reports we had on him coming in from Alec Lewis. And then also with I don't want to call it a glaring need at the wide receiver 3 spot, but you could definitely make an argument that is definitely on the top positions of need for this football team. Could the Vikings be signing Denzel Mims, former second-round pick? He was just released by the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll talk about that on the second half of today's show. But first off, I actually want to give a huge thank you to everybody who has hit that sub button so far this offseason. I was looking at some of the analytics and looking at all of our channels across Chat Sports. What channel has picked up the most subscribers here in the month of June? Actually is Vikings Now by Chat Sports. So credit to all you guys. And hey, if you guys haven't already, hit that sub button. I'm trying to double up Eagles Now in subscribers this month. So if you guys could, lock us in and make us your go-to Vikings YouTube channel. So let's break down Sam Darnold's offseason domination on today's show. What's up, everybody? My name is Patrick Siepman, and Sam Darnold has been absolutely lighting it up. Dating back to minicamp, dating back to OTAs, it has been all positivity coming out from the Sam Darnold front. And Alec Lewis was writing an article, I think it came out a couple of days ago, just talking about how Sam Darnold has performed. And this was a quote from it. He said, "Sam Darnold looked sharp and may have only thrown one interception in mandatory minicamp." He also carried on in this, and he said that interception did come because the receiver ran the wrong out. So technically, Sam Darnold didn't throw any interceptions. And, this has been a trend throughout Sam Darnold's career. You date back to the Jets, the Panthers, the 49ers. He has always performed at a very high level in these minicamps, in these OTA periods. It's just always coming down to, can his game translate to game days on Sundays? Obviously, I have to wait and see on that one. But Alec Lewis was raving about him. Every Vikings beat reporter that has been at practices has been raving about him. And then also head coach Kevin O'Connell had some kind words for Sam Darnold when he said this. He said, "Just from a standpoint of his ability to absorb our offense, go out and execute with a lot of guys when he steps into the huddle. He's stepping in with guys that have been in the system for 2 years. And we're not really slowing down from a standpoint of how we want to kind of install our offense." And I fully believe this. This will be a career year for Sam Darnold. Clearly he has not lived up to the 3rd overall hype when he was selected by the New York Jets. But I promise you, this year will be the best statistical year for Sam Darnold. He will have the best win-loss record of his career because of the support system that Minnesota is going to offer him. And also, the guy's 26 years old. I feel like people just think of Sam Darnold. They're like, oh, he's a 30-year-old journey quarterback. He's got nothing left to prove. I actually completely disagree. I don't think he's had a fair chance to get a true opportunity to be productive in the NFL just yet in his career. So I think this year, big things are going to happen for Sam Darnold. And I just can't wait to see him, get out there on Sundays and ball out for the purple and gold. And then also this, I think the Vikings offense just as a whole this season is going to be much better because of Sam Darnold. I mean, the Vikings last year, it's not like they were a disaster offensively where they couldn't generate any points. They couldn't generate any, momentum offensively. I think if you look at these offensive ranks, 22nd in points per game. You're assuming that's going to be better. Yards per game, it was still 10th. Plays per game at 17th. Yards per play at 10th. And then this was the kicker. And this is where Sam Darnold's really going to need to take that next step. Turnovers per game, the Vikings were terrible. And I'm not saying this is all on the quarterback. As we know, fumbles were a major issue for this ball club last season. But he averaged as a team, we averaged 2 turnovers a game. If we could somehow get that to 1.5, 1.7, we're going to see more wins. And with all these ranks, with Kirk Cousins, Jaron Hall, Josh Dobbs, and Nick Mullins all playing quarterback, I bet you with a consistent starter at quarterback, these will all be a lot higher than they were last year. And now listen, my take. I think Sam Darnold will start at least 18 games for the Vikings this season. What you may be saying, well, there's only 17 games in the regular season. I understand. My bold prediction is Sam Darnold leads the Vikings to a 10-7 record. They get to the wild card round of the NFL playoffs, and then who knows? Maybe it's going to be 18 games. Maybe it's going to be 19 games. But I got a feeling we're going to be seeing 18 games of Sam Darnold starting for the Minnesota Vikings. But not only Kevin O'Connell, not only Alec Lewis, but even J.J. McCarthy was talking about Sam Darnold and just how he's been as a mentor. And he said, I grew up watching Sam Darnold my entire life, being able to just sit there and watch him, watch Nick, watch Darren. It's not what they say to me, it's what they do. And I'm just being a sponge and observing them and eventually, hopefully, one day surpassing them. But right now, they're just phenomenal human beings who are sharing their wisdom with me, and I can't thank them enough and can't wait for training camp. And, I think this mentality matters more than the common NFL fan thinks. Like, up in between the ears, that carries you as a quarterback in comparison to your athleticism. I was thinking about the Patriots, for example, and I'm not comparing J.J. McCarthy to Tom Brady, but there were a number of coaches who left the Patriots system and tried to replicate what Tom Brady did in New England because they looked at him, the physical attributes, the arm talent wasn't at that top 1%. He was just middle of the pack. But what you can't replicate is in between the ears. You can't replicate what J.J. McCarthy has up there, and I think that mentality of him being patient, him trusting the guys who have been there, even though J.J.'s probably sitting there thinking, oh, I'm way better than Nick Mullins. I'm way better than Jaron Hall. He probably even thinks he's better than Sam Darnold at this point. But what he's doing, he's being a sponge, and he's just working on the process and not so focused on the outcome. And I actually do expect the competition at QB1 to ramp up during camp. I did just say Sam Darnold's going to start 18 games, and that's what I think is going to happen. But I bet you we get a report during training camp that J.J. McCarthy is putting pressure on Sam Darnold as potentially the starter for Week 1 versus the New York Giants. We'll obviously have to wait and see how that plays out. But you guys let me know. Maybe you disagree with me. Maybe you think J.J. is going to take the reins earlier than I do. But let me know. Who will start more games for the Minnesota Vikings? Give me an SD for Sam Darnold or give me a J.J. for J.J. McCarthy. Coming up next, I do want to talk about the idea of the Vikings possibly signing Denzel Mims, as he was a very talented receiver coming out of Baylor, former second-round pick. So could he be the wide receiver 3? Give you guys my thoughts here in a second. But first off, got to tell you about this sweet deal we have going on right now. And if you guys want to get your J.J. McCarthy jerseys today, head to chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. I'll put this link for you guys in the comments and description of today's show. So there is no excuse for you not to be wearing J.J. McCarthy's jersey on game day at US Bank Stadium. Also, a little programming alert. J.J. McCarthy's high school coach is going to be coming on the program for an interview. So also make sure you guys are subscribed. And, hey, go ahead and get his jersey right now. Chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. Get those jerseys today. So let's break down what happened. So Denzel Mims, he was released by the Pittsburgh Steelers practice squad yesterday. And, he was on the practice squad the entire year last season. And he's definitely had a journey throughout his NFL career. And, dating back, he actually was with Sam Darnold for 1 year or 2 years with the New York Jets when he was a second-round pick in 2020. Spent the first 3 seasons of his career there. Then he was traded to the Detroit Lions in the summer of 23. Then he was cut by the Lions just a month later, joined the Steelers practice squad last season, stayed there for the entire year, and then he was just cut by the Steelers in June, which was yesterday. But, Denzel Mims in his NFL career has not lived up to the hype of being a second-round pick. No doubt about it. But still accumulated 676 yards, only started 15 games, had a 7.3 yards per target, 16.1 yards per catch, and he is a absolute freak athlete. When I saw him at Baylor, I literally was feeling like I was watching a Chris Carter type of receiver, just the way they move, the way they, obviously, different. Chris Carter did at a way, higher level than him, but that was the kind of vibe I got from Denzel Mims. And, with right now how the Vikings wide receiver room shaking out, wide receiver 3 is such a funny topic to me because, I feel like some fans are, freaking out where it's oh, the Vikings need a wide receiver 3. They need this. They need Trent Sherfield, to step up. But, the Vikings have so many guys, and in my opinion, they got 10 guys, that could compete to make the roster. Obviously, you got the big 3 on the left of the screen, and Jefferson, Addison, and Powell. Trent Sherfield being that more run-blocking, wide receiver. Jalen Naylor, stinks. He was dealing with an illness during minicamp, but I thought he was going to step up. You got the Jackson brothers, Tristan and Lucky. Right now, I got him at 6 and 7. Thayer Thomas, Kevin O'Connell was raving about him. From his jump from years 1 to year 2. And then you got Malik Knowles. And you got Ty James from Mercer. They have guys that can come in here and they can compete for this wide receiver 3 job, and I would bring him in. I would bring in Denzel Mims. Why not just add more juice to training camp? Why not just add more competition? And if you rolled in the Vikings training camp, and even though you didn't have a clear-cut option at wide receiver 3, if you had Mims, Sherfield, Naylor, Powell, all 4 of those guys battle it out for wide receiver 3 and just say the best man wins, they will all up each other's game because they will feel the sense of competition. And, I think that's a beautiful part of life. When you have somebody you're working with, when you have somebody you're competing against, it just brings more out of you. It's just natural. It's human nature. So I say, why not? Bring him in, sign him to a vet minimum deal, and just see what you have, because he was picked in the second round for a reason. But you guys let me know. Would you sign Denzel Mims? Give me an S for sign or give me a P for pass down in the comment section. Very curious to see what you guys have to say. Some people are split on if the Vikings should bring in another wide receiver to battle it out there. But also, guys, give me a follow on Twitter. That's the handle right there, @PatSeeps. If you guys could, follow me on X, follow me on Twitter. I would really appreciate it if you guys could do so. Thank you guys so much for watching today's show. Little Sam Darnold hype, little wide receiver 3 talk, and just super excited to get training camp going here in about 5 weeks from now. But we see you guys next time. As always, Skol Vikes.